We're going to skip our song before. I know it's disappointing to a lot of people who come just for that song. But we're going to put all that energy into our last hymn, which we're going to sing in Swahili in honor of our new partner church in Uganda. Because I have a message this morning that reminds us that a person wants to know before dying that he or she has passed something of value on to someone else. Imagine coming to the end of your life and feeling as if you have not touched another person's life in a way that handed on to them a valuable legacy. Now, I'm not talking about money or jewelry or property, but something of real intrinsic value that you pass down, that we pass down to someone else. Now, in the past month, we've dedicated 6 children and infants on this chancel. We have welcomed 6 more babies into this community in that same time who've been born, including Cassius. And then last week we welcomed to the Coming of Age program 23 of our youth, many of whom I see down there right now in the pews. And I want to say to myself, what exactly? It begs the question, what are we passing on to them? Now, there are 3 primary streams from which the river of all souls is fed. Our lineage has 3 main sources. First and foremost is Christianity. The church is an outgrowth of over 2,000 years of Christianity and traces its heritage to the religion of those who have followed Jesus since the 1st century in the ancient Near East. Now, the second stream is the Enlightenment. The Enlightenment in Europe in the 17th and 18th centuries brought reason back into the forefront of human knowledge, and it pulled Europe and much of Christianity out of the Dark Ages during which Christians were burning books and burning each other and denying science. And a third stream is transcendentalism. The 3 main streams of thought and tradition that flow into the river of all souls are Christianity, the Enlightenment, and transcendentalism. Christianity refers to our foundation in the religion of Jesus and the Bible. The Enlightenment refers to our trust in reason. And transcendentalism refers to our trust in intuition and personal experience. Now, these are 3 very different ways of knowing. The first comes from tradition. The second comes from logic. And the third comes from experience. So if you've ever been in a religious debate with someone, and if you live in Oklahoma, you've been in a religious debate with someone. And you can usually tell by what they say what they consider primary of these 3 different ways of knowing. When a person says, but it says it right here in the Bible, therefore it has to be true, that person is relying on tradition. When a person says, I don't believe anything if it can't be proven, that person is relying primarily on logic and reason. And when a person says, it doesn't matter to me whether it's in the Bible, whether you can explain it to me rationally or prove it scientifically because I've experienced it and I know it in my heart of hearts to be true, that person knows from experience. And that last person is a transcendentalist. In other words, transcendentalism teaches that there's a way to discover truth that transcends both reason and the Bible, or reason and tradition. The transcendentalists believe that beyond all the specific religions that are out there, there is a universal truth that can be discovered and experienced firsthand. They believe that religion is a roadmap that can guide people towards truth and God, but they say that too many people's religion was at their time was focused on reading the map rather than actually going to the destination. Now, there's a Buddhist saying that says, do not mistake the finger pointing at the moon for the moon itself. What Buddha meant is that people should follow the religious teachings, the religious teacher, the rites and rituals, but do not confuse the journey with the destination. The Buddha taught that once a person reaches enlightenment, that person will realize that all the scriptures, all the symbols, they don't really matter anymore. They realize that these things were a vehicle to take a person to a higher consciousness and to connect us to ultimate reality. This point was driven home to me while I was living in India and I was studying Hinduism, and one day my teacher showed me a beautiful, just a gorgeous movie that was about a young lady who loved Lord Krishna. She followed the path of devotion, and she spent her life worshiping and praising her Lord. Every day she would bring fresh flowers to his altar, and she would dance ecstatically to express her love for her Lord. Clearly not a Baptist. In the movie, she danced and worshiped the Lord Krishna for years and years and years, until one day she reached samadhi, or the Hindu word for enlightenment, and in that moment she realized that she was one with everything. And suddenly, Krishna, her Lord, who she'd been dancing with and praising and bowing to all that time, was gone. She realized that her Lord was part of her and she was part of her Lord. The separation disappeared and all existence became united as one. And my teacher, Swami Dharmananda, explained that once she attained that higher state of consciousness, she realized that what she had imagined was Lord Krishna was not really God, but was simply a beautiful image that she had of God that allowed her to express her love and her devotion so that she could arrive at a higher consciousness, so that she could know God, know ultimate reality. Now, in that higher state of consciousness, she transcended the images and the symbols that had previously real power for her. Now, Dharmananda explained that it wasn't that her love was for her Lord was not real, but he explained that it's hard to, maybe impossible, to love and worship the abstract idea of the oneness of all creation and a mystery beyond our understanding. So he explained that eventually people must transcend the tools and the stairs that they step on in order to enter or raise themselves to a higher consciousness. I can remember being in art history class. Some of you may have had a moment like this as well. And learning that the image that most of us have of Jesus with his gorgeous long hair and his pale European complexion began from a particular European artist in the 15th century. I believe it was Albrecht Dürer's original image that became the iconic image of Jesus that people now use and paint all over the world. Now, anthropologists today, they explain to us that Jesus must have been much darker in complexion and had much curlier hair, as did the Jewish people of Jesus' day and his region. Some even say he was black. He was certainly brown, and he definitely was not white. Nevertheless, people all over the world have fallen in love with a Jesus who looks like a French hippie. Right? Not only that, a French hippie that has, access to some really good hair conditioner. That Marlin I see you would be pleased to have some hair conditioner that good in your, I'm sure you do, as a matter of fact. But the point is that it doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter. Unless, it does matter if a person because of that image, starts to think that God is a white man.